Hi everyone, welcome back to this S4 IGCSE biology lesson again. It's me again, Mr. Paul, and in today's lesson we'll first of all we'll take a review of the previous lesson that we did previously. In our previous lesson we looked at how we can use DNA to classify living organisms. We looked at the various classification systems, the hierarchy. And then we also look at the 5 major kingdoms. Okay, I gave you a small exercise to try out previously. So here are the answers to those questions that I gave before. All right, we can go through the slide very fast, the question very fast. The binomial naming system to identify all living organisms gives an Indian elephant scientific name Elephas maximus. So I ask you, which part of this refers to the genus and which part refers to the species? The genus is Elephas and then the species is Maximus. And then there is the question, this part B of the question. Okay, you've been given some English name and the scientific name of some organisms there, okay, the cat family. And then you're asked, state the common and the English name of 2 members of the same genus. Okay, you can either say it's bobcat and European lynx, or European lynx is Iberian lynx, or bobcat and Iberian lynx. Or you can talk about jaguar and leopard, or a jaguar and a lion, or a tiger and a lion. All those can be named. Now, name the genus that has only 1 species. Okay, that's only 1 species is a Acinonyx. Now, in our today's lesson, we're going to look at classification of vertebrates. We're going to classify vertebrates, invertebrates, and plants. Today's lesson objectives are as follows. Okay, by the end of this lesson, the learner shall be able to describe the main features of the classes within the vertebrates and the invertebrates. It's important to know that we're going to be looking at arthropods only. Name examples of animals belonging to these different groups. Okay, we'll be able to classify plants into these into the ones that reproduce using spores and the ones that reproduce using seeds or the flowering plants. And lastly, we look at how we can use the classification key or the dichotomous key to classify living organisms. Now, it's important to know that this most of these topics that we're actually covering here are a repetition. They are quite familiar topics that you must have learned in your lower secondary levels, S1, S2, S3. So we'll just be brushing through them, just going through them very, very briefly. Okay, so you'll have to bear with me. Now, to start with classification of vertebrates, so these are the animals with backbones called we have the first group are the fish. What classify fish? You know the main features of a fish. Okay, they have scales. The features, they have scales. They breathe using their gills. Okay, they have fins for moving. Okay, in water, and of course their body are normally streamlined. Okay. Now, the next group of vertebrates are the amphibians. These are like the frogs. Okay, they have soft, moist skin. Okay, they normally lay their eggs in water. Adults can live on land. The larvae have gills, but the adult ones normally breathe using their lungs. Okay, and then we have reptiles like the snakes and the crocodiles. Now, these ones normally have dry, scaly skin. Their skin are quite dry and scaly, and the kind of eggs they lay are eggs with rubbery shells. They are a bit soft, rubbery shells. They're not hard shells like the case of the birds. Now, the next group are the birds, or can also be referred to as the aves. Now, the birds have feathers. Okay, their forelimbs have been modified into wings. Okay, they have their forelimbs have been modified into wings. They lay normally eggs with hard shells. Birds also have beaks. Now, the last group of vertebrates are the mammals. Okay. The mammals, they normally have, including human beings, okay? They have hairs on their skin, okay? They have placenta, okay? They are endothermic. That means they are able to keep their body temperature normal all the time, despite the changes in the external temperature. They feed the young ones on milk from the mammary glands. Okay, they have diaphragm, they are heterodonts. In other words, they have different types of teeth. Okay, we have the incisors, the canines, the molars, and etc. And their heart have 4 chambers. Okay. Now you look at those animals there. Now, how about the invertebrates? The invertebrates here, these are the animals without backbones. We have so many groups of invertebrates, but it's important to know that according to your syllabus, here we'll only be talking about, we are going to be talking about arthropods only, okay? We won't consider the other groups of invertebrates like the mollusk, the echinoderms, and the rest, and those other worms, okay? We'll only look at the characteristic features of the arthropod groups, okay? So the arthropods are those invertebrates with jointed limbs or jointed legs, okay? Their legs, if you look at their legs, they are normally like half joints. They are half joints, like you can see the spider there, and of course you can see the prawns there, okay? Their bodies are normally again divided into parts, otherwise referred to as segments, okay? They have external skeleton, also referred to as exoskeleton, okay? And this exoskeleton, when they become normally big, when they grow and become bigger than the skeleton, they normally shed it out, a process referred to as molting, okay? And in addition, all arthropods normally they have some feelers, okay, or antennae on their heads. Now, the arthropods are divided into 4 main groups. We have the first group are the crustaceans, like we have the crabs, okay? Now, the crabs, crabs have gills for breathing, okay? They are having more than 4 pairs of jointed legs, and if you look at their exoskeleton is quite hard, or we can call it chalky exoskeleton. The next group are the arachnids. Here we have the spiders and the scorpions, okay? These ones, their bodies are divided into 2 parts, okay? That is, their thorax and their head have been connected together to form what we call a cephalothorax, okay? So they have only 2 body parts, the cephalothorax and the abdomen, and then they have 4 pairs of legs, or they have 8 legs, okay? They have no feelers, see, but they have poisonous fangs, okay, that they use to disable their prey, okay, and they breathe using what we call book lungs. The third group of arthropods are the myriapods, okay? Now, the myriapods, the millipedes and the centipedes, these ones are characterized by the so many legs. They have so many legs in their body, okay? And in fact, you find that the body has many segments divided into so many parts, and each segment has a jointed leg, okay? Each segment has at least a pair of jointed legs. Now, the last group of arthropods are the insects. Now, insects have 3 pairs of legs. They have 3 pairs of legs, or you can say they have 4 legs. Their body is divided into 3 body parts. So we have the head, thorax, and the abdomen, okay? They have 2 pairs of wings, okay? And they have 1 pair of antennae, or the feelers. They normally breathe using spiracles, okay? You can see those tiny spiracles on their abdomen, okay? Those are tiny spiracles on the abdomen there, okay? And that's it about the arthropods. Now, classifying plants. Generally, we normally classify plants into 2 major groups. We have those plants which normally reproduce using their powdery spores, okay? And we have another group of plants which normally produce using seeds, okay? They use the flowers, and the flowers develop into seeds, okay? Now, in this particular part, we'll be looking at the ferns, which are the plants which reproduce using spores, okay? Now, the fern or the fern plants, they have special leaves called fronds, okay? You must have seen these ferns. They're normally very common everywhere, especially in Seychelles there. We have so many fern plants around us, okay? And we normally even use some of their leaves for decorations, right? The ferns do not make any flowers. They are non-flowering plants. They don't have any flowers, okay? But they normally make some powdery spores, especially underneath their leaves, okay? Underneath their leaves, we have those spores, and these spores are the ones which, when they fall onto the ground, they grow into new fern plants, okay? They have proper roots, stems, and leaves. Now, flowering plants. These plants reproduce sexually by means of seeds, okay? They normally make, you know how we normally like the plants, the flowers, okay? From the flower, the flower gets pollinated, and then we have fertilization happens, okay? And then this particular flower, it dries up, and then of course ends up making a fruit, and then the fruit with the seeds inside. Now, the flowering plants are divided into two major plants. We have the monocots, or monocotyledonous plants, and dicotyledonous plants, or the dicots, okay? The monocots are like the maize, the coconut, and of course the dicots are like the orange tree, takamaka tree, and beans, etc. and etc. Now, why do you call them monocot, and why do you call them dicot? Okay. Now, the monocot has only one cotyledon. The cotyledon is like that white part, the seed leaf, the seed leaf of that particular seed. Okay, it has one cotyledon. You cannot actually split it into two cotyledons, just one compact, like you see the case of the maize seed there. The dicots, on the other hand, they have two cotyledons. You must have eaten peas, okay, or beans. You can actually split those two white parts into two separate parts. So we normally call those two cotyledons. So those are the dicots. Now, if you want to, when you're looking at comparison between a monocot and a dicot, we look at how their roots look like, how their leaves look like, and etc. And of course, we talked about the cotyledons also, okay? Now, the leaves of monocots are normally narrow and long, okay? And the veins found in there, they're normally parallel veins, like the case of a coconut. Many of you are familiar with coconut plants, or let's say maize plants. Look at the leaves of the maize plants. They're normally long, okay, a bit long, and of course, narrow leaves. And you look at the veins, okay? They're more or less parallel veins. Whereas for the dicots, you look at the other plants, the leaves of the dicot, they normally like have what you call netted veins, the network of veins. And then the roots of monocots, like you look at the root of a coconut tree, they're normally very fibrous roots. And for a dicot, they normally have a taproot, and then from the taproot, you'll find some lateral roots coming out of the main taproot. Now, looking at the flower patterns of these monocots and dicots, okay, for the monocot, you look at the flower pattern, normally has 3 petals, okay, a pattern flower with 3 petals. However, for the dicot, the flower pattern normally has 5 petals, like you can see on the diagram there. The last bit you're going to be looking at here is the classification key, or the dichotomous key. Now, this was a special key designed to actually like name organisms from a picture, okay? Now, how does it work? This particular dichotomous key, it has a set of questions, okay? With these questions have 2 descriptions, or 2 questions, okay, at each step, from the step 1 up to the last step. So you simply answer a yes or a no to each question, then go to the next description or next step, and then go to the next step until you finally reach to the name of that particular organism you are looking at, okay? So dichotomous means branching into 2, okay? Means branching 2. So in each whatever description, we have 2 description or 2 questions in each step, okay? And then you'll keep on like looking at these animals in the picture, okay? And looking at the description given in the key, okay? The key has description plus the names of these living organisms, and from here you can actually be able to identify the names of these particular organisms. Now, we'll look at an example an example of how we can use a dichotomous key to classify these living organisms to make it easier for you to understand. Okay? Now, use the key below, dichotomous key below, to identify the animals given there. We have animals A, B, C, D, and E. We don't know the names of these animals. We don't know what they are. Okay? Their names are found in the key there. Okay? So the key has description of these animals, okay, plus the names of these animals. So you start in the key, you start from each step. You have step number 1, okay, and then you go to step number 2 or 3 or 4, and it will always guide you. If, like, when you start to step number 1, it will always tell you if it has legs, for instance. Do you go to 2? Okay, or is that has no legs? You go to step number 4. Okay, like for instance, now, let's say we want to classify organism A. Okay, we look at the key there. So organism A, does it has leg or has no leg? You say it has no leg. It has no leg. We go to step number 4. We go to step number 4 there. So does it has a shell or has no shell? Organism A has no shell. So organism A is actually an earthworm. So A, you write the name there as earthworm. So you continue going through all these, the key and looking at those animals, and you'll finish and you get all the names of those animals in the key given there. So I'll give you like 1 minute to try out and figure out the names of the rest of the animals. Okay, and then I'll give you the answers in the next slide. Now, let's just see whether you got all the questions correctly, all the answers correctly. Okay, so if you use the key correctly, you'll find that animal A, as we did this one earlier together, it's an earthworm. Okay, the animal B is a spider, C is a snail, D is a wasp, and then the last one, E, is an housefly. Okay, so it's important. Use the picture of the animals there. Okay, and then the key gives you the description of those particular animals plus their names. Okay, so, and the most important thing to remember is that when identifying each animal or each organism, you must begin from the top. You must begin from the top stage, and then from there, it will guide you all the way up to the name of that particular organism. Now, to summarize our today's lesson, we've looked at the various groups of vertebrates and invertebrates, and also we have tried to classify plants into those that reproduce using spores, and those ones like the fan plants, and those that reproduce using seeds, like the flowering plants. Okay. We've also classified flowering plants into the monocots and the dicots. We looked at the different features of a monocot and the dicots. We also tried to use dichotomous key or the classification key to classify certain organisms. So I have a set of questions here for you. You can always use your mobile phone, take pictures of these slides. Okay, or you can record. Okay, try out these questions, and the answers to these questions I will give you in the next lesson. Okay, so have a look at those questions, try them out. Okay, that is it for today. Thank you for staying tuned in. Have a pleasant day and stay safe.